Good morning, everybody. Hello, and welcome to the third episode of the Patriot Review and the Fifth Paradigms joint event. Today, we have with us Archit, and we have Professor Pankaj Jha. He is a PhD in international relations. He's also the director of the Center for Security Studies at OP Jindal Global University. It's a fine privilege, to have Sir with us. He's also worked with the Prime Minister's office. We have a question with that also. So, sir, my first question to you, right off the bat, is: we say that India, we are the largest democracy in the world, but how secure are we, from a security standpoint? What are your views on this?
Uh, Thank you, Archit, and thank you, Avirat, for inviting me for the talk show. Now, you have asked a very pertinent question whether democracies are secure with having one of the largest armies in the world. I believe not only armies, but it also depends on different aspects of whether you are economically contribute to the economy and whether the understanding among the population with regard to certain issues related to the development of the country. Army is one of the elements of it. Whether your diplomatic corps is quite competent enough, whether your intelligence, which with regard to forewarning is active enough, and how your army really complements all these aspects to provide you that safe environment which is really required. Now, from the point of view of democracies, it is usually being said that democracies don't fight among themselves, and which has been an oft repeated metaphor in the international security parlance. But democracies also evolve a rules-based order which says that everybody should be held responsible for disturbing the international peace or regional security ethos per se as such. And therefore, at times, democracies becomes essential for larger regional and international peace. In India, what we have seen that we have evolved over a period of time, starting from non-aligned movement, and now we are multi-aligned with different countries taking cognizance of our requirement, our national interest, and therefore, in this regard, this comprehensive and composite approach that India has taken for securing its border as well as developing its economy, I believe that really what comprises the security of the nation per se as such. Indian Army is competent, is one of the largest standing armies in the world, and is professionally qualified. In fact, if you look into professionalism, Indian Army and its professional approach has been much respected and appreciated across the world. It has, the best part is the Indian subcontinent provides Indian Army to train and conduct exercises in different terrains, desert, snow, marshy land, all kinds of things. So it is much more adapt to certain conditions, and therefore we feel that with such a competent professional army, we are secure at our borders. And this brings about a more understanding about security matters in the domestic domain. And therefore, every person wants to read, know, and how he can contribute in the case of a security of the nation per se as such. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So my question was, where does the research and analysis wing, the RAW, stands amongst other major intelligence agencies like the Mossad and the CIA?
If we look into research and analysis wing, it has two divisions. One which looked into the analysis of the open intelligence, and also there is operational wing which looks into really working out certain aspects of it. In 1960s and 70s, you will be surprised to know that RAW was on the top 10, intelligence agencies across the world. Now we are also evolving in terms of different type of intelligence collections, be it technical intelligence or human intelligence. Of the RAW as such, the effort and the work which has been done during the Bangladesh war in 1971 and also during in the Pakistan was much accepted and appreciated across spectrum. The problem which has happened because of the Gujarat doctrine, many of the operations of the RAW in Pakistan were folded, and therefore this morale of this whole wing, the division, the department itself was lowered. It was said that these kind of assets that we have developed in Pakistan over a period of time has been completely decimated, and therefore it was very difficult for RAW to really develop its assets across the neighborhood, which includes South Asia in different parts of the country also, and also abroad. But the problem that is which RAW is nowadays facing is with regard to its personnel, and also the funds and the finance which has been provided to by the government in the past is slightly slowing down, and this whole increment is slightly slow to come about with regard to RAW. RAW also has to evolve as a composite wing, which includes technical, human, satellite, all kinds of intelligence wings composite together, and therefore develop a complete network of intelligence collections which can contribute to better decision making and better informed political brass, which will help in undertaking any missions or operations across the world. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Just a follow-up question. How would you describe what the India's national security structure is like? Yeah.
If you look into India's national security structure, it is comprising of various, layers, which includes the Prime Minister's office, the Cabinet Committee on Security, which involves 5 of the cabinet members. Then comes the different kind of divisions that Army have, the Navy have, the NSA office have, and apart from that, we have different wings of intelligence, primarily IB and RAW, which look into different kind of information, and all this information then permeate and then reach through the digital mode to the top brass to look into what exactly are the emerging situation, what are the emergency situations, and therefore they look into this in a more composite way and then decide what exactly is the priority area per se as such. Like in the case of China, in the case of Pakistan, these are the priority areas for us, that what exactly is Pakistan doing, China doing, or many of those non-state actors, what exactly are they conspiring to do against India. Apart from that, Army, Navy, and Air Force have their own wings of intelligence, which collect data from different sources. And also the NSA, National Security Advisor's Office, also comprises of different wings, cyber wing, terrorism, maritime security, all these wings, which look into information from different sources, which are then collected, and then a very brief summary of what exactly are the events taking shape and what exactly are the long-term repercussions of these kinds of developments is created and is sent across to the Prime Minister's office for taking due cognizance of it and make countermeasures accordingly.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Avirat, your question.
Yeah, so sir, I want to understand how important is the Indian Ocean region, because when we look at the Indian Ocean region in context to the South China Sea dispute, it's a bone of contention that might come ahead. So what do you think is the strategic relevance of the Indian Ocean region?
Now, Indian Ocean at one point of time was talked, people really said that, even countries have really said that Indian Ocean should not be India's ocean, it should not be, the lake of India as such. But technically, it is the only ocean which bears the name of India, and it is seen as our backyard, or you can say the front porch. In fact, India's major approach to the Indian Ocean is to secure its maritime borders as well as its resources, which lie in exclusive economic zones, which is 200 nautical miles from the coast. Now, in this regard, what we have seen over a period of time, that many of the navies, be it the case of France, be it the case of UK, be it the case of US, have equal stakes in really maintaining peace and security in this Indian Ocean region. The piracy, anti-piracy missions, your transnational crime, even at times providing support during pandemics like tsunami or something like that, has been a major role that India has been really working. In fact, India has also been seen as the net security provider in the Indian Ocean, and therefore we find that our stakes are slightly more higher than many other countries which are indirect stakeholders, including China as such. China has been developing its submarines capacities. It has more than 50 submarines and also many nuclear ballistic capable submarines per se as such. Now, this kind of a capacity that China is trying to project into Indian Ocean is a matter of concern. Very recently, when CDS, upgraded this Andaman and Nicobar facility to act as one of those front commands, joint commands, it was meant to really look into what exactly are the possibilities to look into our interest in Malacca Straits and also in and around region. If you look into this Indian naval strategy, Indian maritime strategy documents, the last two, we simply say that the Indian Ocean is critical for our interest, and also those choke points which fall into Indian Ocean are of strategic interest to us also. We are developing capacities and capabilities, and because of the fact that our adversaries, primarily China and Pakistan, are also developing their capacities in a way and have been trying to develop and counter India's dominance in the Indian Ocean. China has been making unmanned submersible, and it is conducting surveillance in and around Andaman and Nicobar Islands, and also trying to know what kind of a camaraderie is developing between the Quad nations. Because in one of the RAND report, which is one of those think tanks of US Air Force, has said that Andaman and Nicobar could be a very apt launching ground for US drones in case of operations against China. Now, this kind of a referral with regard to India's capacities course is quite critical, because then people think that in Andaman and all outlying islands of India are a critical, what is called, launch pad for its ambitions in the Indian Ocean. Now, if you look into it from a very civilian point of view also, this Sagarmala project, which means developing an integrated port network so as to work as a alternative in case one of the port has a lot of traffic, and developing this network to support our economy, and therefore protecting Indian Ocean and safeguarding our interest in the Indian Ocean becomes of paramount importance to us. And in this regard, joint exercises like Malabar and biennial meetings, naval meetings like Milan, have a special role to play for projecting India's benign intent in the Indian Ocean region. Thank you.
Right. So, and just a follow up to that, what do you think about the Quad model, the Quad and Quad Plus?
If you look into the Quad Plus itself, Quad Plus is a unique sort of a what is called reinvention of this hub and spokes model, where US used to remain in the center, and all those countries which are regional allies or partners are on the fringe of that model, where it's contributing as a spokes to that hub and spokes model. Now, in this regard, what has happened that instead of US becoming the preeminent, pre-positioned power at the center, it has involved three more countries, Japan, Australia, and India, to act as the hub. This Quad Plus model, which includes Vietnam, New Zealand, and one more country itself, is basically a reinvention of it, and they want to create that friendly countries network which can help Quad countries in terms of logistics, in terms of support, and in terms of launching operations in case that time comes when they have to take certain effective operations against some adversarial country, which might be anybody. It can be North Korea, it can be China, or any other country per se as such. But if you look into the Quad as such, there are differences with regard to a number of issues. First, whether the Quad model will be able to interoperate among themselves, whether there is a kind of a synergy which is being there. Because if you look into Japan, Japan is a ally, US ally, Australia is a US ally, India is a comprehensive strategic partner. But then these two terms, ally and strategic partners, are different in that context itself. What needs to evolve more in terms of how to operationalize in terms of certain aspects. It is what is low-lying fruit, which is in terms of humanitarian disaster relief operations, how to really help in terms of search and rescue, and then look into how we can really work as a cohesive unit in undertaking any operations across Indian and Pacific Oceans, primarily Indo-Pacific zone itself. But in terms of developing an understanding and working out a model where we can really gel together is still missing in the overall architecture. Also, if you look into it, the Blue Dot network, which has been envisaged by US, which involves involves Japan, Australia, and US, looks into infrastructure projects per se as such. So it is critical that Quad is still in the elementary stages, but needs much more effort at the level of leadership and bureaucracy to work together. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I had another question. So in terms of crisis, like let's say a conflict with China, who do you think would be India's natural allies and who India can depend on?
Now, yeah, if you look into adversarial relations with China, we do have certain complementarities which existed, but now China is in a very aggressive, assertive mode, which is not good for the regional peace and also for international security. Whether India considers anybody as a strong ally as such or not, I believe that Indian Army believes in itself, and the diplomacy also believes that we can do our work ourselves. The only thing that we really want the international community to come around is with regard to supporting India in case of any tensions with China. That is more than enough. On the part of military front, I believe Indian Army is capable enough to take on if their aggressor knocks at the door and wants to get even with regard to really any skirmishes or war per se as such. In terms of logistic support, we have a number of logistic agreements with France, with Australia, with US, which technically means we will get that operational and logistic support at times of need, but nobody is going to fight our war. We are very well aware of it. How they will support us and what kind of assistance they will give us is yet to be seen in that context. And I believe only time will tell. Since we are a country which practices strategic autonomy, I believe not many countries will come to our help when militarily an operational or any issue really comes across our borders. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You worked with the Prime Minister's office. Can you tell us a little about how it was working there and what? I mean, because it's a dream for most people to work with the Prime Minister and in the Prime Minister's office. So there's a lot of aspirational sort of mentality associated to the same. How did you reach there, sir? I mean, it's great that you did, but what was it? What was it like?
At times when you are doing international affairs, you don't know that there are many career options which are open in the government sector also. After doing 7 years in the Institute for Defense Studies and Analysis, after doing my PhD, I thought I should really diversify itself and look into what exactly is policy making all about. Because we often criticize policymakers are not doing this, India is lacking with regard to policy making and all those things. And then I came across the basic policy making structure, how policies are made, how they are really pushed above to the Prime Minister's office, and how all kinds of information is collected. Let me tell you, after doing my due research and getting into the PMO, because there is a entrance exam for which you will have to qualify followed by interview. But the basic catch is they do take postgraduate students and also PhD. If you have a PhD, you will have chances of making it to the higher ranks. But if you are just postgraduate, you will entry at the entry level, which is assistant director level. Now, in this regard, what has happened that over a period of time, when you get into the PMO, you get all kinds of information. In fact, there is a deluge of information that you have to really scan through. Each day, you will get 100, 150 pages to go through it, skim through it, and look into which is the critical information which should be brought to the notice of the higher authorities or the political class itself. You create summaries, you create reports, but the best part is you really have the chance to look into the first-hand information from different corners of the world, which is exclusive. Now, in the due course of working with the PMO and national security establishment, you in a way become more learned in terms of what exactly are the ground realities in this regard. And let me tell you, when in 2011 and 12, when we were facing some problems because of the Iran sanctions and oil, the whole media was gung-ho about our relationship with Iran going down the hill. This shows that what exactly is in the public perception and what exactly is in the private confidential domain is completely contrast. On the contrary, we have developed better relations and understanding with Iran itself. And I believe for any international relations student, it is good to get an exposure of the policy makings, because then you the information to create and develop a good biases, your own biases which is existing.
Understanding. So you said there's a lot of information, right? And in this coming world where information is very important and it's the new currency and intelligence is the new currency, what do you think that the Indian structure at large, I mean, post the Uri surgical strikes, we see a more aggressive, nation, a more intelligent, a more aware, a more responsive, a more dynamic nation structure. So, do you think that's good for us? Can you tell us a little about that?
If you look into the operational activities that we have done in the case of Uri, Balakot, and all those things, it is basically these options were also there on the table. But the thing was that because of the Kandahar crisis, all those things, this option was rarely used because we know there can be a public backlash. And this danger was very heavy for a political leader, or this political risk could not be really taken at that certain point of time. We could have done the same in the case of Mumbai terror attacks or that kind of a thing. But then we were aware that there can be certain backlash which might be coming in the case of Pakistan launching an attack, which happened again in the case of Balakot itself. Now the thing is that how much political leadership can take the risk, and what exactly is the operational effectiveness, whether we can really undertake these operations without losing our soldier, or there can be certain collateral damage which is somehow embedded into these kind of operations. But we should really attribute this success to the Indian Army and the Air Force for conducting these exercises in the best professional way. However, I must say that these kind of attacks and maneuvers have been a surprise element, and this clearly has alerted the Pakistani authorities as well as China. And because before that we have conducted these operations in Myanmar also, which technically means that we are going to really hit back where it hurts the most for those people who are conniving against India. And I believe that approach has somehow been good, because now you look into these kind of terror attacks or something like that, it has gone down drastically. And this has helped us in projecting ourselves as an effective composite military, and also a very strong political leadership which wants to take political risk in this context. Thank you.
Oh, so just a follow-up question. So this change in approach, can it be attributed to certain personalities like the NSA, the National Security Advisor, Ajit Doval, or people like that? Is it direct connection there?
Basically, it depends on National Security Advisor doesn't act on its own. He is assured by the political and the military brass that you need to work out on an operation, you need to work out on a complete effective strategy which can be giving us dividends. Now everybody wants results, but the thing is that who is going to bring about all those persons, all those experts to really bring about people, and therefore this whole operations was done because it's not as individual operation as such. There are various agencies, various departments which are involved into it. But the confidence of these departments, of these individuals, is what contributes to taking an effective operations per se as such. Yes, NSA was the lead man, and the leader is being hailed for its risk-taking capabilities. And I believe the NSA, Ajit Doval, does have this risk-taking capabilities embedded into him. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Avirat, you're on mute.
Right. Thank you so much, sir. It was wonderful to hear from you. And yes, so we've got answers with respect to India and how secure we are and stuff like that. So at the end of the day, all I'd like to say is that it is important for us to involve in nation building, and on a policy front, India, we're doing much better than we were, and we should all appreciate that. So thank you so much. Hope you all have a lovely day. signing off. Thank you.
Thank you,
Yes.
Avirat.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, sir. You have a good day.